Welcome to Exíto in Minutes. I'm here with
Alex Espinosa,
my co-host, and I'm Troy Blanchard. Thanks for joining us today. We're super excited. Exíto in Minutes is all focused about how in minutes we can learn the best practices, valuable tips to help you achieve your full potential. We're inviting experts to come in, and they're going to share inspirational stories. Our main purpose is when you're concluding listening to these podcasts that you will be a better person and take some of those best practices, learn not just from us, but from our guests. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. We're glad you joined us. We are so excited for the show today. I want to introduce my guest.
My name is Shad, and I'm happy to be here.
And my co-host,
Alex Espinosa. Hey, guys.
We are back with a show that we are super excited about. First of all, I've been thinking about this one for a couple months. I asked Shad a couple weeks ago, I think, right? Kind of to hear your story. I've always been fascinated with Shad's story. So we're just going to dive in right away. So first of all, where were you born?
Well, I was born in Tehran, Iran, which is the capital. And well, I spent about 20 years there. Well, I finished my college there. And well, as a child, I was not one of those calm kids. I always wanted to be in trouble. Well, not big trouble, but small trouble. But I loved music. I wanted to go to music school when I was, I think I fell in love with music when I was 12 or 13. And but the thing is, my parents was like, well, I don't think this is going to end up with a good future, and you got to become an engineer or a doctor. So they didn't allow me to continue with music. So I started studying physics and mathematics in high school. But
What
unfortunately, well, that's
from music
direction.
to physics.
Yeah, well, it was a typical thing at the time. So most parents wanted their children to become doctors, to become engineers. So it wasn't popular if you wanted to become a rock star at the time. And well, unfortunately, it didn't go well. So I almost failed all the courses.
No way.
Besides physical education. So I was good at
That's a good one.
physical education. And well, that was when that was a time when my parents realized, hey, probably this is not the ultimate goal for you. If you don't like it, okay, now choose what you want. So at the time, I was very good at languages. So I could learn, because half of my family is Canadian. So I always had this conversation when my cousins, when my aunts were calling, and they were speaking in English. I was like, I want to talk to them, but I was speaking Persian or C. And I was like, but I can understand them. I want to try to talk to them, to communicate. So I decided to study teaching English as a second language in college. So that's what I majored when I was back in Iran.
I love that. So going back to now you want to learn English, one, with the why, you want to communicate with family members, right? And then you find a passion in it because you must have, if you went to go study at the university. When you were studying English or teaching at the university, you're still in Iran, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because basically my level of English was zero. And I was 20 years old already. And this is something like that later on I realized that people say, oh, once you're an adult, you can't learn a second language. Well, it's going to be really hard or impossible. But well, I had no choice because at the time I had to decide on two paths. So I had to go to the military because it's obligatory to serve, or if you go to university and study, then later there is a possibility that you can become exempt.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, you know what? I have no idea, but I don't want to spend 2-3 years right now serving. I like to learn some training, but this is not something that I want to do. I want to be in the academia. I want to study. So I decided to go to that direction. That was another reason besides that I loved learning languages. Yeah. So it was like one of my two options at the time, either to go university or go serve the military. And it was tough. So the first semester, it was really hard because I was accepted in a university that was not in my home hometown. So I had to travel about 4 hours a day, going 4 hours a day, coming back, and 4 hours, 5 hours.
4 hours a
Day.
day.
Can you imagine traveling 4 hours a day to school there and back? It's 8 hours a day? Or
Yeah.
2 hours and 2 hours?
No. 4 hours going, 4 hours coming back. So I had to leave my house about 4 a.m. to be able to make it like 8 a.m. Class, and then stay there until we have finish all the class, sometimes in the early afternoon or late afternoon, and then take another taxi, well, depending on what we could find, bus, to go back home. The problem was there was no dorm at the time, so I could stay there, and it was way more expensive if I wanted to stay there. So it was really tough. No English, and the major that I chose was teaching English. So it wasn't like you're going to learn English there. That was like a false idea I had. It was like, oh, I'm going to go learn English while I'm learning how to teach it. It was like, no, you're going to start talking about linguistics and teaching courses. Like, it's about teaching. It's not about learning languages. So it was really, really hard. By the time we finished semester, again, I failed 2 courses in, I think it was in grammar, something related to teaching grammar. And then I had to decide again. I was like, hey, what do I do? Like, do I just quit, go back to the military, or I have to keep going? Like, I had no choice. And then I remember I called my aunt in Canada. I was like, hey, aunt, like, look, I'm in a tough situation. She was like my mentor always. I always talk to her about it. And I was like, what? She was like, what do you want to do? It's like, I have these 2 choices, and also it's very expensive to go there. So I can't go and fail. I have to go and pass, or I have to quit everything and go. And I remember she said that, like, what do you want to do? Like, what's your ultimate goal? Like, you want to stay there? You want to become a teacher? Like, do you have a clear idea of what you're going to do? And that's what made me think at the time. It's like, let me think. Well, I'm 20, 21. I still don't have a clear idea. But one of the reasons why I started studying for teaching, it was maybe one day I could go outside of the country and teach English. I was like, okay, now we have a little bit of a clearer idea. So then you have to accept the suffering. So go for it, go back. We try to support you. If you needed money, if you needed other kinds of support, we're here. But don't just quit. It's going to be hard. Like, you just started. It's the first semester. I know you failed 2 courses. But I was like, okay, I'll listen to you. And that's what made me keep going at the time. And it was a very hard journey, because I went from failing 2 courses in the first semester to becoming a teacher in 2 years.
Wow.
That was ridiculous. Because I remember at the time when we were graduating in my class, we had probably no students, none of my classmates had become teacher yet. So they were still not confident enough. It was like, no, we still need more practice, more courses, more studies. But I was going too fast because I loved languages, and I was like having this idea. I was like, by the time my bachelor's is done, I'm going to just do something. And I needed money. So I was working on the side. I was a delivery boy for the whole 2 years. So I was doing this, and I was going to university. Then, well, after the second year, I was able to change the university to my own hometown. So I didn't have to go.
Travel that far. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was good. So I was able to work for that after that.
So you get so I just gotta point something out here. So I think a lot of times people would say, if I have an opportunity to go study in Guayaquil, right, or somewhere that's relatable, let's say just 4 hours away, that you would say, oh no, I can't do it because I can't travel back and forth. And I love that mindset of like, that's not an obstacle. Like, there's always a way. I will travel 8 hours a day. And to me, that just shows tenacity. It shows that you have a goal in mind and you're not gonna let anything stop you. Then you do it again. You display that same nature again by saying, I'm gonna get done as quick as I can to be a professor. When nobody else, right, is finishing, you have your goal in mind. I think there's a power in that, and understanding the why. which your aunt helped you. Huge kudos to his great aunt. His aunt is awesome, right? Who was his mentor that actually helped him see the path and the vision of where you want to go. And now let's get there. And I think when you have that why, it gets you to go faster, right? Where did you go after that? You finished college, you finished university, you're in Iran, and then where? Where did you go?
So when I finished, well, I was already a teacher. So I was practicing, and I was also teaching in a few language schools. But then soon I realized that wasn't enough for me. It was like, oh, there's so many things I still don't know. Like everything that went wrong in the classroom with the students, or I was trying to teach something with a different method. I was like, no, there's something missing. Like, oh, that student wasn't paying attention. It was like, this student was distracted. It's like, oh, this concept is hard to teach. Like, I still miss a lot of things because most of the time, university is more theoretical than practical. Yeah. So you don't learn that much of practice. So I was like, and I started searching to find other professional development courses, and I found this really, really interesting intensive 4-week course by Cambridge University in Turkey. And it was a huge investment because I had to quit my job. There was like 4 weeks, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So you couldn't work. Wow. You had to be there for 4 weeks in a row. And so you couldn't work, and you had to pay for everything. And it was pretty expensive. But then I did a lot of research. So like everybody who finished that course was like, they said, oh, this is life changing. You got to do it. So that was when I just put all my savings together, and then I enrolled in that program, and I went to Turkey. And that was like a really big turning point in my life.
And that, like those, I like to call them pivotal moments or hinge moments. You make this decision to go to Turkey, which it sounds like you're grateful you did that. What was the one thing you learned there that our audience could learn from you by walking away from what's comfortable? You're comfortable, you have a job, you're around family, and you choose to leave to further your education, to grow and develop. Like, what helped you do that?
Well, a lot of things, to be honest with you, but the biggest lesson was before that, I thought I was in a bubble, and this is the whole world. Like everybody I know up to that point, these are my friends, these are my family. Like the opportunities are limited. I had that limitation, like limited thought of like, okay, this is the world. That's how far you can go. If you're staying here, okay, you'll become a teacher, you do this. But once I started studying in Turkey, and I made all those friends, and I got to know all those Cambridge professors, like this amount of knowledge and the connections that we built after that, like my whole life changed. It was like, oh my God, suddenly I realized, no, you're not living in a bubble. It's not limited. Just one connection here, and one person that you learn from here, and another location that you see, or the language schools, for example, at the time, the teaching methodology that they were using, the technology that they had. And it just changed everything for me. It was like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. It's much, much better. So that was like the biggest thing that helped me after that to go further to other countries, and to go to next level. So it was very interesting.
I love it. Okay, so now you're in Turkey, and you finished your course. It's like a certification, right?
Yes.
Is that you got a Cambridge certification? So that's a very, very high level certification. So now you can get it. Was it easy to get a job elsewhere?
Oh, it was much, much, much easier. It was like you just needed to send an application. Because before that, it was like, okay, you have a college degree. What else do you have? Because the schools, the universities, the institutes, they knew that you need some other things on top of your college degrees, not just the end of it. And I didn't know that was the case. It was like, okay, once I finished university, all the doors were open. Well, that wasn't the case because everybody else was also graduating. But after that course, everything was different. Like the moment that everybody was seeing that qualification as a teacher in my CV, was like, okay, yeah, this is the one we can consider. This is the one that we're willing to have an interview with. I mean, it wasn't like, yeah, they would say, yes, right away, but you were always had the chance to be shortlisted to get an interview. So it was huge because I immediately started working there. So that was like the evidence to me, because the moment I finished the course, the same institute where we finished the qualification, they said, "Hey guys, we can offer you guys job because we know this course."
I wish we had that here, right? Like in Ecuador, like take a course and you're instantly hired. But I also think that it does show that discipline, first of all, having the vision, right? Of, hey, I want my world to be expanded, want to get out of my bubble. Second of all, not having the fear to go do it, having confidence in yourself, showing up and getting further education, and it pays off. And it pays off every single time you focus into education. Now, I got to hear the story of how you're teaching in Turkey. How did you get to Ecuador?
Wow, that's a whole different story. Well, I worked there for a while. I was planning to do a master's degree. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going. I just don't want to stop here. So, because I knew that you could study master's in teaching English and then PhD. You could do all kinds of other qualifications to just get better. And I was searching around. I found one really good program in Cyprus. And because my uncle lives in Cyprus, I was like, okay, let me go there to get to know the program and to get to know the country too. So I went there for a few months and did my research and was like, no, that's not the program I was looking for based on what I saw. And then that was when I decided, like, what if I go to somewhere like way, way farther? So, and I was like, okay, I know I have some family in Canada. Europe could be an option, but what if we go to Latin America?
Why? Why Latin America?
By nature, I love adventures, to be honest with you. So I can adapt pretty fast. So because some people, like, they want to know a lot of things before going somewhere or before even thinking about visiting, forget about moving there. But to me, it wasn't that case, because when I went to Turkey, it was hard, but then I realized I can adapt to the new situation and culture. But in the case of South America, it was another world to me, because I had no friends. I didn't know anybody here, well, anywhere in South America. But I heard something. I don't know where I heard that, but I heard, okay, the English language level is not that high there, and there is a demand for teachers who know how to teach well. So I was like, okay, I probably have a good chance to get hired there. So I started sending all these applications to a few countries. I think about 10 different countries, just Colombia, Ecuador, Chile, Uruguay, Costa Rica. I mean, I didn't know. I was just searching the capital city and like the biggest city after that, and I was applying. And each places I was looking for 3 to 4 schools or universities or language schools, and I was sending out applications.
Can I pause you right there? Sure. So 2 thoughts here. This is going to be a 2-part video. This is a 2-part podcast. So we are loving it. So far, part 1, we have heard the journey of being born in Iran, getting your education, breaking out of your bubble, learning to have confidence in yourself. I love, one of the things that I think Alex brings up more frequently than I do is mentor, the power of a mentor. And here we have Shad talking about, look at how this mentor helped him create his pathway, asked him crucial conversations so that he could obtain where do I want to go and what do I want to become, or who do I want to be, or those questions that helped you decide, hey, I want to leave Iran to go get some further education. The challenge of further education. God, there's so many great principles. I still go back to the 4 hours though.
No, yeah, that's amazing. And thinking about this, finding your passion, is like, you can think about making money. It's like, okay, this is the career that will make me millionaire, but this is not what I love. This is what I love. And it's having success because you do what you love to do. And out of it, it will come money or fame or whatever you want. It's like success for everyone is different. But do you think that you find your passion, you go, you pursue what you love, and then poof, you're successful.
And look at all these opportunities that came about. I love it. So let's go to part 2. So please come back and listen to us for part 2. Part 2 is going to be specifically all about how do you go from, you're at Turkey this time or at Cyprus? Where are you at?
Cyprus.
Cyprus. How do you go from Cyprus to Latin America? And then come back and join us to hear the rest of this. Thanks for joining us.
See ya.